Welcome to the Wisdom That Breathes channel. Across all our platforms, we try to share wisdom which is relevant and accessible to everyone. But on this particular platform, we go deeper into some of the ancient principles found within the scriptures. If you find some of the terminology difficult or inaccessible, then go over to our Keshava Swami YouTube channel where you'll be able to find other content which is perhaps more relatable. Thank you and enjoy the wisdom that breathes.
Can you hear me? Yeah, thank you everyone. So welcome to interviewing the monk. I was actually thinking this before I came here. I thought I haven't interviewed Keshava Swami for a while, and I've got some really nice questions and tough questions to ask him. So we're going to get a little bit deep into it today. And yeah, if you have any questions and you want to ask, please don't feel shy. The best way to learn is questions and answer. And Keshava Swami likes this also. So he asked me today, what questions you have? And I was like, I'm not going to tell you. So let's start with, so many of you are here for the first time, correct? Yeah, okay. So Keshava Swami, you are a monk, you're a Swami. Can you tell us a bit about why you became a monk and a Swami? What was the reason for you to do this?
Thank you so much. I guess all of us, we come into this world with different personalities. We come into this world with different character traits. So from a young age, I was always attracted towards simplicity. I was fortunate enough to be born in a family where materially I had everything that I could ever want. But I saw people who had everything. 2 houses, 2 cars, 2 phones, too much. But it didn't make them happy. And so from a young age, I was always questioning things, and at the same time I was attracted towards simplicity. And then when I was about 15 or 16, I started reading spiritual books, and the Bhagavad Gita right here was one of the books that I read. And I began to realize, my God, there's more to life. There's more to life than what we see around us. And so I went to university, and through university life, I was experiencing, let's say, the 2 sides of life. One day I would go to a nightclub, and straight from the nightclub I'd end up at the temple for Mangalarti. So it was a good comparison, because I was seeing 2 approaches to life. I was seeing 2 different types of people who were dancing, some in the nightclub and some in front of Krishna. It was an interesting comparison. And when I graduated at the age of 21, I studied computer science and management. So when I graduated, I realized that I have to spend some time to disconnect, to find myself. I would encourage all of you to do this somehow in your life. That sometimes what happens is that we're surrounded by so many noises. The noises of other people's opinions, the noises of what society tells you should be doing, the noises of all the expectations. And sometimes in the midst of all of that noise, we never really hear our own heart. And what ends up happening is we live a life and we set all of these goals. And they say the worst type of success is when you achieve all of your goals and then you realize they were somebody else's goals. So I realized I need to disconnect, I need to go away to really find myself. And so I went to India at the age of 21, and I lived there for 6 months. I traveled around, I lived in ashrams. And there in India I found my calling to be a monk. So you don't have to be a monk to be spiritual. If you're interested, we do have vacancies. But if you feel that monk life is not for you, that doesn't mean you're in any way less spiritual. We're all souls. We're all looking for God. We're all looking for spiritual connection. And so for me, this path of monastic life was very natural. And for you, a different life may be very natural. No problem. But whatever life you choose is a life which should be authentic So for me, this was the most natural life. So I convinced my mom and dad, Mom, I want to become a monk. And it was shocking, but what to say? Sometimes you have to shock your parents a little bit as well. It's part of their job, you know. They have to deal with shocks. But they're happy now. And so, yeah, I've been a monk for, I don't know, 25 years now. So still learning. And by no means learnt it all. Still much more to learn. So, yeah, I travel around the world nowadays. In my life, I had many names. So I grew up as Sandeep. When I joined the temple, I was known as Bhakta Sandeep. Then I took an initiation. I was known as Sutapadas. And then a few years ago, I took lifelong renunciation. So nowadays, I travel around the world and people call me Swami. But behind all of those names, just the soul, just like each one of us, looking for something higher. So nothing that special. Just trying to learn and share.
Thank you, Keshava Swami. So a few things I picked up.
My answers are extra long because I'm scared of what questions he's going to ask us. I'm trying to kill the time out here.
So two things I picked up on what you said. The first one was you were naturally inclined to a simplistic life. So when you were born, you were already in that way inclined. And many people aren't naturally inclined to a simplistic life or a spiritual life. Maybe they have a lot of bumps or ups and downs, and then they turn to spiritual life. But you kind of got there beforehand, or were already like kind of connected. So I got two questions. Basically, the first one is it that we're born with a natural inclination to simplistic monastic life? So are basically monks kind of just born, naturally?
Born to be a monk.
Yeah. And the second question is, obviously, because of that, maybe some might say that you're at an advantage because you're a monk, you're living a monk life, you've not got as many attachments as many people might have. So you're naturally like going to be more connected to God, more spirituality, whereas some people may not have that, or they might have other desires, or they might have to work a job, or live in the real world. So what would you say to people who are kind of, is it you're just born with it?
Yeah, definitely some people are naturally attracted towards monastic life. Definitely it's something to do with your personality. And for some people, having a family, having children, having a job, achieving things in the world, that comes very, very naturally. So yes, we all have a natural, what we call in Sanskrit, disposition, or samskaras, or conditionings, a nature, a dharma. But is one better than the other? Not necessarily. Once someone came to Socrates and he said, I don't know whether I should get married or not. So Socrates said, you should definitely get married. So he said, why? He said, because if your marriage is happy, then you will be very joyful. And if your marriage is a little bit rocky, don't worry, you'll become a philosopher like me. So, whichever life you take up, there will be ups and downs. Monks also have difficult days, trust me. Monks also have to deal with complexity of life, trust me. Monks also have days when they wake up and they think, I don't know if I want to do it today. Monks also have to deal with relationship strains. Whoever you are and wherever you are in this world, there will always be ups and downs. There will always be difficulties and challenges. So yes, if you live out there in the world and you have a job and you have a family, there'll be difficulties. All of you are sitting here right now, and probably in your mind there's probably 100 issues to sort out. But problems are leading to progress. obstacles can actually help you to grow. And so whatever we're going through in life, even the difficulties, the complexities, that's part of our spiritual growth. So yes, if you have to live in the world and face all of these things, it's hard. But it's not counterproductive. It can actually help you to become more spiritual if you utilize it in the right way.
So how do we utilize it in the right way? Because we have a 9-to-5 job, we're working, we might get some time for spirituality, we might get some time to do something. Can you give us maybe 3 practical ways of being spiritual or connecting and having that disposition? What can we do in our sort of day-to-day life to make it happen?
Okay, 3 things while you're living in the world to be more spiritual. The first thing, as I would say, don't go on the train. Don't compartmentalize your life, number 1. Sometimes we do this kind of thing like Saturday and Sunday are my spiritual days and Monday to Friday, that's just what I have to do to survive in the world. These are my spiritual things that I do, and these are all the other material things that I have to do. Actually, what one should try to do is make every part of your life spiritual. Your family life can become spiritual. You can make your career spiritual if you use it in the right way. You can spend your free time, your hobby time, doing spiritual things. In other words, create a spiritual life by connecting everything that you're doing to the spiritual aspirations that you have. And that's possible, number 1. The second thing, as I would say, what do you do outside of the time you're working in the world? The whole world focuses on what they do between 9 to 5. But what are you doing between 5 and 9? What are you doing early in the morning before the world is starting to move? If you spend some time every single day meditating, reading, reflecting, internally developing your spirituality before you come out into the world, then what happens is that you become much more equipped to be spiritual in the world. So the second thing, as I would say, have a spiritual routine every single day where you spend time away from the world. And the third thing is, I would say that if you keep spiritual friends, for example, we have this center, we have this opportunity, and if all of you come every single week, you come to the events, you come and be part of the community, then what will happen is through this community, through friendship, you will actually gain all the knowledge and strength required to be a spiritual person in this world. So those are the 3 things I would say. Number 1, integrate your life, make everything spiritual. Number 2, spend time every single day internally working on your spirituality. And number 3, always have spiritual friends and community. And through those 3 things you can be very spiritually strong very, very quickly.
Thank you. So 3 really practical points. Now some people might argue that as spiritualists, you're kind of just, here meditating, thinking about God. But what about all the problems that are happening in the world? What about all the hungry people? What about all the wars that are happening? What about all the issues that are going on there? So, are you really making a difference in the world? Just coming here, you're meditating, you're chanting, okay, fair enough, it's nice, but there's a whole world out there that's struggling, So, are you just kind of being selfish, just being here?
Yes. Well, the first thing to understand is that we don't only pray, meditate, and do our own worship. Just the day before yesterday, we were in town and we were doing Food for Life, and we were giving food out to homeless people. A round of applause for all the devotees who do that. It's amazing. And if you want to join us, it happens every every Sunday. You can come and join us and do that wonderful activity. So the first thing is that we are also very practical. We're not just here singing and dancing. We also do very, very practical things. But the other thing to realize is that when each individual comes here and transforms their consciousness through spirituality, that is actually having a global impact. If you look at every single problem in the world, the problems of the world stem from the same things: lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, ego. These are the qualities which fuel all the problems. So what happens is when people take the time to work on their own character, when people clean up the ecology of their own heart, then they become empowered to actually go in the world and make the world a better place. So therefore, Einstein, he said, you can't solve the problems of the world with the same type of thinking that created them in the first place. And therefore, what we're doing here in the Krishna Consciousness Temple is we're actually changing consciousness. And consciousness is the most powerful tool we have to create revolution in the world. And so this is what we're doing. We're not just making superficial solutions. The world is trying to solve the problems through superficial solutions. But those superficial solutions make the problem worse. In India, there was an outbreak of cobras. So the Indian government, you know what they did? They said, we put a bounty. You understand? Bounty, it means a reward. We put a reward for anyone who brings in a cobra. In India, if you do that. After some weeks of putting out a bounty, they realized, my God, there's so many cobras coming. We didn't know it was this bad. And then they realized people were breeding cobras so that they could then hand them in and get the reward. And they realized, my God, for the solution that we've created, we're creating more problems. And then at one point they said, no more rewards. And then all of those people let all of the cobras loose. And then they breeded even more. And the net solution, the net result of that solution was that it aggravated the whole problem. Therefore, people are trying to solve the problems of the world, but they're doing it in a very superficial way. At IIT, some of you are from India, you know IIT. At this university, they found out students were so stressed that they were hanging themselves from the fans in the room and committing suicide. So you know what IIT did? They took the fans out of the room. Great solution. At the most prestigious, intelligent institution in the whole of India. Maybe the problem is deeper than a fan in the room. Maybe we need to work on something a little more deeper. And that's what we're doing here. We're working on deeper solutions.
Thank you, Kesha Swami. Okay, so we're working on deeper solutions and we're going deeper and we're practical as well at the same time. Now, it's almost like a battle against material life for us, because I'd like to just get a poll. Who here has social media? Just put your hand up. Okay. Leave your hand up if you have a problem staying off social media. Leave your hand up if you feel like it's hard to basically switch off from social media as much as you try. Okay, very...
For everyone who didn't put their hand up, we have a seminar on truthfulness.
Yeah, WhatsApp counts also. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now we get there. Okay. So you can see generally everyone is... So the average amount of time people spend on their phones, this is the average, I don't know what, maybe in this room is different, but 6 to 7 hours a day people spend on their phones. right? So many people are walking around like this. So how how do we navigate spirituality with the age of AI, the age of social media, the age of instant gratification? Everybody wants things instantly. You know, instant noodles, instant messaging, um, chat GPT, you know. I may have prepared some questions through chat GPT. So how do we navigate this complexity? How do we go deeper in this age?
The world is moving in a certain direction, and I don't think any of us are going to be able to stop it. Technology is a part of our life, and no matter how much you try to disconnect from it, you have to be connected. Otherwise, you can't survive in the world we're living in. The key is to make sure that the other parts of your life are strong. So what we do, for example, is when we wake up, for the first 4 or 5 hours of the day, we don't look at any devices. We don't answer any messages. We don't check any news. In fact, for the first 4 or 5 hours of the day, we try not to even speak to anyone else. If you begin the day working on the inner world, then when you come out into the world, then you will be an influencer of the world rather than being influenced by the world. And so I would say that technology in and of itself is not good or bad, but it depends on how strong you are, how much clarity and inner resilience you have. And that comes from working on our inner life. So just create boundaries. It's not that spiritualists don't have technology, but it's that they're not owned by technology. They own it and they utilize it. It's not that they become owned by it and hijacked by it.
Thank you. If anyone has any questions on the topics, please also you can raise your hands. Yes?
I would like to ask a question concerning this topic, especially with young people. I'm a social worker and I have a lot of contact with young people, and it's currently a big topic because there's a link to depression
Yeah.
and social media. So my question to you is, how do you talk to young people? Because how do you approach young people when you want to talk about spirituality, but also now concerning this topic? Because this is something that personally is for me a big question now, having a lot of contact.
Yeah.
But like this more, I'm working more with the kids who have the less privilege, let's say.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah. How do we work with young people who grow up with devices? It's like, previously kids would grow up with a milk bottle, and now they grow up with a milk bottle and an iPad next to them. I can give you one thing that we do with young people. One thing we do with young people in London is we take them away for a weekend. Be a monk for a weekend challenge. And what we do is we make a pact that for one weekend we're going to challenge you. Can you live without devices for one weekend? And what we do is we take them away, we go to a mountain, we walk on the ground with our bare feet. We smell the air of nature. We eat fresh food. And we just basically live in the most natural way and away from technology. And what happens is so many of those young people, after a weekend, they just experience something totally different. They're like, this is amazing. And so what I would say is that you're not going to be able to convince anyone intellectually, like by argument, that you shouldn't use your technology or you shouldn't do this. But what we can do is we can share with them and give them experience of the beauty of simplicity, the beauty of what it means to live without all of these things, and how natural and how inspiring that is. And when they experience that, then they draw the boundaries for themselves. you know. So I think we need to have more experiences like that, where we actually give them a taste of what it means to live in a much more natural way. One idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I have a question regarding what Prabhuji was asking earlier. In today's world where technological advancements are taking the world to another level, especially with AI and the other technological advancements, on the other hand, when you experience meditation, you feel that okay, this is a step closer to spirituality, probably you can try to take that path. Then the 9 to 5 triggers in, you go for work, and then you realize, well, there is a materialistic world, and like the Gen Zs say, that there is FOMO that triggers in. So the mind is always in that split phase where you don't know really how can you strike that balance. So what do you recommend? What do you say that how should you deal with it with sanity so that you still can try to adopt that spiritual path yet maintain a balance with your day-to-day life?
Yeah, it's a challenge. You see, again, I feel the problem is that we create the life for ourselves. So what we say in one philosopher, he says, we are the prison maker, we are the prisoner, and we are also the prison keeper. In other words, by our decisions, we create a certain life for ourselves. And then we have to live that life. And then we should also understand that we're the prison keeper. We can also release ourselves from that life as well. So the point I'm making is that you are in a stage of life where you're making decisions. So you have to be very conscious about every single decision you're making, because that is going to determine what kind of experience of life you have. For example, career. Many people just choose a career which makes them money, which gives them security, and which gives them a certain amount of social prestige so that their family will be happy. Now let me share with you that if you decide to do a career simply based on those 3 criteria, which 99% of people in the world do, you may find yourself after 40 years looking back feeling deep regret. In other words, we each have unique abilities, we have a unique nature, we have a unique personality, and what we have to try to do is deliberately create a life, a lifestyle, that means a career, a daily way of living that suits and which supports our deeper spiritual aspirations. If your spirituality is just something you do on a Saturday afternoon when you come here, it won't be enough. Your whole life has to incorporate your spiritual aspirations. And so I would say that, again, try not to compartmentalize your life. Like, I want to be spiritual and I do all these things, and then I got the world, I have to deal with it. You have to try to see how can you work in this world in such a way that when you go to work, it's not just materially maintaining you, but it's also spiritually inspiring you. We tell people, make your daydream your day job. Now you may say, that's unrealistic. I've got bills to pay, I've got things to do. It's nice to say, but how do you do it? But you can. If you start actually trying and being willing to come out of the comfort zone to actually discover what you're really meant to do in this world. So try to be very, very deliberate about the life decisions that you make, because every single one of those decisions you'll have to live with, and then they're going to determine your quality of life.
So, thank you for that. So we're in Berlin right now, and obviously, and Berlin, from my research and from speaking to people, a lot of people are atheistic, and it's quite a secular society. it's a beautiful city, right? So
He's trying to get himself out of it.
So, what advice would you give to the people in this room? How do we approach somebody who is atheistic? How do we approach that mentality? How can we, as people who are inclined into spirituality, who have some belief into this idea there's a higher being, there's a God, there's spirituality, how can we approach this world out there, or let's just say relevant to this city? How do we approach the atheistic mindset, the people who are atheistic? And they might just say, well, you guys are having a good time, but you guys seem a bit crazy. You're just dancing and chanting all the time, and yeah, okay, you give nice food here and there, but it's not for us, and just stay where you are in your box. What advice would you give, and how do we approach that atheistic mindset?
Someone once came to Srila Prabhupada and he said, your whole life is Krishna. You wake up in the morning, you chant Krishna's names, then you write books about Krishna, then you go out and you lecture about Krishna, and then you're spending all your time and energy building temples for Krishna, and then later on you come back and you talk to your students about Krishna. And then at the end of life, what if there's no Krishna? And Srila Prabhupada said, I'd do it anyway, because it's still the most joyful and happy life. So the idea is that by practicing spirituality, by connecting with divinity, not only are you investing in the afterlife, even if someone doesn't believe in the afterlife, you still live the best life in the here and now. In France, there was a philosopher, Blaise Pascal. And so he came up with something called Pascal's wager. And he said people can basically go in two directions in their life. Believe in God or don't believe in God. He said if you don't believe in God and in the end there's no God, then you haven't lost anything, you haven't gained anything. But if you don't believe in God and it ends up there is a God, then eternal loss. He said now, if you believe in God and it turns out there's no God, no loss, no gain, because it was all meaningless anyway. But if you believe in God and it turns out that God is true, then eternal gain. So he said on the law of betting, if you are a betting person, you may as well believe in God, because you have everything to gain and nothing to lose. And therefore, this is one pragmatic argument that you can give people, that by taking up spirituality, you don't lose anything. You only have something to gain. The second thing we share with people is that what we're teaching here is not a faith. This is a spiritual science. Krishna consciousness is not just something you have to believe in, but is something that you can experiment with in your life and actually perceive as a living reality. And so the second thing I would say to an atheistic person is, if you're scientific, then become a spiritual scientist. Try it out. Try it out. Give it a go. And the third thing is, I would say to someone who says that they're an atheist, is that you're saying the world came about by chance. You're saying that it's all random and meaningless, but nothing else that you deal with in your life came about by chance. Nothing else you do in your life is random and meaningless, yet you say the whole universe is meaningless. If you come across a beautiful painting, the first thing you ask is, who's the artist? Yet when you see the incredible complexity of this world, which is thousands and millions of times more intricately engineered, you think that came about by chance. So it makes no sense. If you look at the world without any predisposition, you have to believe that there's some intelligence behind it. It's obvious. At least as a working hypothesis, to say there must be something behind it. Now, even if you say, I can't be 100% sure, why would you be immediately skeptical and deny it without even exploring it? It doesn't make any sense. Therefore, from a philosophical point of view, from a practical point of view, from a potentiality point of view, you have every reason to believe in God and no reason not to.
Okay. Okay, fine. So let's agree that there's God, right? Let's say, okay, you're saying...
Oh, that was
you-
easy.
So you're saying it makes sense, okay, there's an intelligence behind it, but there's so many, you guys have so many religions, right? There's this religion, there's that religion, you see there's Christians on the street, there's a mosque here, there's so many different religions. There's now also, people believe in the universe, so, there's a universe has created this, and the universe created that. Why did you decide to pick, how do I know what religion to pick, number one? And number two, how are you so sure that the religion you've picked is the right one? What if we get to the end, in your theory where we said loss, no loss, what if we go to the end and say, okay, there is a God, but you picked the wrong one?
First thing to understand is that there's only one religion. And that religion is love. So it doesn't matter which religion you practice. Whichever religion helps you to develop your pure love for God, for divinity, whichever name of God works for you, no problem. Because God is one, He can have many different names, He can be approached in different ways, and different religious traditions can all help you to develop a tangible connection with Him. So according to the Eastern perspective, every religion, if practiced with sincerity and purity, will actually take you towards God. And therefore, in our tradition, we don't have to deny any other spiritual path. We don't have to claim that we have a monopoly on the truth. If someone feels that through the Christian tradition they're developing their love for God, wonderful. If someone believes that through Islam they're developing their love for God, wonderful. If someone likes to use the word Allah, great. If someone likes to use the name Jehovah, great. And if they like to call him Krishna, wonderful. So then you may say, then why are you not a Christian? Why are you not a Muslim? The first thing is I have very good friends who are Christians and Muslims, and I appreciate their spirituality. However, from my study of spirituality and religious and theological traditions, it becomes very apparent to see that amongst all the religions in the world in which there is genuine spirituality, there is also an evolution. We don't say one religion is right and one religion is wrong. We say every religion is taking you towards God. However, every religion contains a different level of detail and a different level of complexity. And therefore, the reason that I practice the Vedic tradition, the reason that I worship Krishna, is because from my study, there's no other theology which has this much information, this much detail, this much intimate revelation of the nature of God. But you don't have to take my word for it. You have to explore it for yourself. And you have to see what comes from your study. So, yes, we may, like Srila Prabhupada said, how do we know that we're not worshipping the wrong God? But we would say that we're experiencing God right now, so we don't have to wait till the end to figure out whether it's actually true or not. We're experiencing God now. And so that opportunity is available to everyone. And so it's a spiritual science. So just become a scientist.
I'll think about it. I think we have one question.
Hare Krishna. I wanted to ask a question about the atheistic point of view. And something that's come across my mind recently is that sometimes I think it's possible that this the idea of God has been created by humans in order to have some sort of respite from the difficulty and the perhaps meaninglessness of the world, and by worshipping a God, putting our faith in a God, we almost create the reality we want to see, or we put our hope in something that we are creating ourselves, almost like a placebo effect. So, what would be your response to that, Maharaj?
So are we just creating religion to feel some comfort, feel some relief, just because it suits our psychological need for something to be there? Well, we could look at the atheist and we could launch the very same argument against an atheist. Do you come up with a philosophy that there's no God, so then there's no responsibility for you? Then it frees you from having to think about, I have to follow this and I have to follow that. We could say, do you create the philosophy of atheism so that you don't have to, you also create it so that you feel you're in control, that there's no one higher than you that's determining things. In other words, we could launch the very same argument against an atheist, that you create a philosophy that suits your psychological weakness. So whether something has a good effect or a bad effect has no bearing on whether it's true or not. In other words, if religion makes people feel better and more hope, that in and of itself doesn't make it any less real or any less unreal. In fact, we could make the opposite argument that if it does give you hope, if it does give you faith, if it does give you the hunger and the enthusiasm for life, then maybe that adds weight to the fact that it's true. Because we want to have hunger for life, we want to have hope, we want to have inspiration. So perhaps it's true. See, so that argument in and of itself can't determine anything. You can't determine the truth of something based on what immediate psychological effect it has. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't think you like what you said. Yeah, it makes sense. But it's also like, I guess it's a possibility that's sort of like lurking in the back of my mind, and in order to be absolutely convinced that this is the path for me, I want to remove all doubt in a way.
And that's exactly what we're saying, that ultimately to remove all doubt, it can't be done philosophically. Therefore, right in the middle of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in a beautiful verse, Rajavidya Rajaguyam Pavitram Idamutamam Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartum Avyayam. Krishna says this is the king of all knowledge, the most secret of all secrets. And then he uses the word Pratyaksha Avagamam Dharmyam. Pratyaksha means direct perception. Krishna says this knowledge can be directly perceived by one's own realization. In other words, you have the opportunity to see God. But no one can convince you of that. You have to experience it for yourself. And it's not scientific to say, give me the proof before I do the experiment. That's not the scientific process. The scientific process is hypothesis, experiment, observation. So if someone says, I want the observation before I do the experiment, that's not scientific. So whichever way you go, you have to have faith. Sometimes atheistic people call religious people people of faith. The amazing thing is, isn't a scientist a person of faith? Isn't it faith to believe in the Big Bang? Isn't it faith to believe in evolution? Isn't it faith to believe that life came from chemicals and matter? Even though none of these things have been proved, and all of these theories have continuously changed and evolved over the course of time. But no, that's not faith, that's science. Really? So science is as much of a religion as religion. But remember Pascal's wager, that if you end up putting your faith and betting on the idea that there may be God, you have everything to gain and nothing to lose. Whereas if you bet that there's no God, then you don't really gain or lose anything, but you stand the chance of losing everything. So therefore, everything is faith. When you cross the road, it's faith. When you step on a plane, it's faith. When you get married to someone, it's faith. So why not? Why not give it a try? People say, no, I need more concrete. Before I enter into a relationship with God, I need more concrete proof. So then I said to someone, did you do a criminal record check on your wife before you married her? Because no, I was attracted to her. We kind of just put some faith in it. So I said, you didn't do any checks? No, we just... So we want to do all the criminal record checks on religion and God and everything before we enter into it. But we never act like that in life. In life, we put faith in something and then we go with the heart. So therefore, if you want to progress in your spiritual journey, forget in your spiritual journey, if you want to progress in life, you need to have faith. So someone should just ask, where should I repose my faith?
We have a question.
Hello. My question is, when religion is the way to be happy or to live a happy life, why is there so many bad things done in the world in the name of religion? And not just nowadays. I feel like there has always been inequalities shaped by religion.
Thank you so much, yes. See, anything can be used and anything can be misused. What we would say is it's not religion that causes war. It's not religion that causes problems in the world. It's bad religious practitioners. If it were true that only religion causes war and without religion we'd be so much better off, then that would mean all the secular parts of the world would be completely peaceful. Is that the case? In fact, if you look at the biggest wars over the history of the world, they've actually been fought not on religious grounds, but on secular grounds. So all the terrible things in the world come from the same things: lust, anger, greed, envy, pride. And the reality is that someone can pose themselves as a religious person yet harbor the very same qualities. And then what they'll do is they'll utilize religion to create that negativity in the world. So in English we have a saying, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So therefore, yes, people have misused religion, but that doesn't mean religion has to be discarded. What about all the beautiful things that have come from religion? What about all the morality? In fact, there are so many social and scientific studies to show where people have belief in divinity, clearly there's more values, more morality in general than people who don't. So therefore, I would say there can be good that comes from religion, and there can also be negativity that comes from religion. But it means we have to look towards who's actually practicing religion with purity and use them as the reference point.
Was there another part to that about inequality, or that was answered? Sorry. Yeah.
You can respond if you want to say something. Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm just wondering where religion makes the difference then, because of like still there's war from atheists and wars from religious people, where
Where's the benefit, or what's the benefit? Is that there are religious and spiritual people who are creating wonderful change in the world. Just look at some of the people who have done the most incredibly selfless acts to cause great reformation in the world. You'll see that many of them had a spiritual belief and a spiritual inspiration behind what they were doing. So again, I would say you find good and bad in everything. But true religion, real, genuine spirituality has the prospect of creating the greatest, the most sustainable, and the deepest change in the world. Because it doesn't just create superficial solutions, but it actually gets to the root of the problem. So that's the potentiality. Yeah, thank you.
I have a follow-up question, Maharaj, how to identify then, there are so many gurus and so many so-called religious person, they memorize the slokas and especially in, I'm sorry to say, a lot of...
Yeah, so how do you know who's true?
And whom to follow?
There are so many people you could have entered into a relationship with who may have exploited you, who may have took all your money, who may have, made your life upside down. But still you found someone genuine to spend the rest of your life with. You didn't lose faith. Even though there would be so many people out there who would not be good for your life, you realize that shouldn't stop me from finding the genuine one. So it's the same thing. Yes, there are many bad religious practitioners. Yes, there are many bogey yogis, as they say. There are many doctors out there who are quacks. But if you're sick and you say, well, I'm going to play the safe option and not go to any doctor just in case I get mistreated. Well, my friend, your safe decision will lead to your death. Therefore, again, just because someone does something wrong or tradition does something wrong, or that doesn't mean we should discard the whole thing. Rather, we should look for the genuine. Isn't it?
So how do you know you're making progress in your spiritual journey? And what if you fall off the wagon? So are you starting from scratch? I mean, this is something I wrestle with. As an example, I meditate every morning. And about 15, 20 years ago, when I meditated, I would go into this state where, time would disappear. But that went away after a few months. And then it feels like I was in a rut, so I just stopped. So now I've started back up again, but it's never been what it was.
Sure.
And so, it's kind of loosely related to how do you know you're making progress, and what if you fall off the wagon, which I've done many times?
Thank you so much. Yeah. That's a very complex question, and actually the scriptures explain all the different things that you should experience along your journey. In our tradition, we have a book called the Madhurya Kadambini, and what it explains is that there are 9 stages which one goes through before reaching pure love of God. And therefore, by looking at these books and this framework, you can actually see whether you're progressing on the journey. It's very scientific. But broadly speaking, one analogy is given in the scriptures to help you understand whether you're progressing. In one ancient verse is explained, Bhakti pareshan ubhavo viraktir anyatra chesha trika eka kalaha prapadyamanasya yathashnatashus pustikshud apayonugasham. In this ancient Sanskrit verse is explained, when you eat, 3 things happen. Tushti, you feel pleasure. Pushti, you feel energy. And kshud apayo, you feel freedom from hunger. If you put food in your mouth and you feel these 3 things, it means you've digested the food. In the same way, if you practice spirituality correctly, first thing, tushti, you should feel a different type of happiness, a different type of positivity, a different type of hope and hunger for life that you didn't have before. Second thing, pushti, you should feel a change of character. You should feel an experience of God. You should feel a transformation within yourself. People will look at you and say, you're different, you've changed. And the third thing, shud apayo, just as when you eat, you feel freedom from hunger. If you're actually practicing spirituality, then what will happen is that you'll become more and more detached from the ups and downs of life. You'll become detached from the sorrows, you'll become detached from all the desires, you'll become detached from the temptations, and all the things which disturb the mind of the soul in this world won't disturb you in the same way. You have that freedom from that material agitation. So these are 3 broad things, and then the scriptures give even more detail, step by step, of what happens. Is that okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Lady in the blue scarf. Yeah.
Hello. Hare Krishna. I have follow-up question for this question and one my question. So first question is that is spirituality also help us to activate Manipur chakra, which changes our food preferences also, and we go more into sattvic food instead of the food practices before which we had.
Yeah, when you take up Krishna consciousness, when you take up any spiritual path, then it begins to change your vasanas. So vasanas are a Sanskrit word. It means our disposition that we come into this life with. So therefore what happens is that you will see that as you develop in your spirituality, your habits will naturally begin to change. The food that you want to eat will change. You'll walk past McDonald's and you'll be like, Hare Krishna. Nothing. When the alarm clock goes off, you won't want to waste the morning hours. You'll wake up because you'll realize, how can I oversleep? Now my day is terrible, ruined. So your food habits change, your lifestyle changes, the people and the way you talk and interact with people changes. Everything will change. Your character will change. That's why this spiritual path is so powerful, because you change and you become the best version of yourself in all ways. So yeah, for sure, you will change.
Okay, thank you. And my second question is past life spiritual practices also help us this lifetime to go into the spiritual path, even though we don't have more spiritual people surrounded by us?
Yes, definitely. All of us, see, all of you are sitting here. All of us, I'm also here, I think. All of us are sitting here, and there's another, I don't know how many million people out there who decided not to come today. Thank God, we probably wouldn't be able to fit them in anyway. Why did you come and why didn't they come? Because in a previous life you had already made spiritual progress. In a previous life you had already learned about many of these things. The good news is this is not new. You've been doing it all before. The bad news is you didn't perfect it. I didn't perfect it. So we had to come back again to continue on from the same point. So each one of us are here because we've already been doing this previously. But what we're doing now is we're simply carrying on from the point where we left off. So if we're wise, then we'll go home and we'll think, why don't I try to perfect it in this life? Then it means I don't have to come back here again. I don't have to come back and go through all the struggle of life, go through all the pains, go through all the ups and downs, go through all the disappointments and frustrations. Do you really want to come back and do it all over again? Or do you want to go to the spiritual world where every step is a dance, where every word is a song, where every act is an act of love? You can go there. But it means that now we have to take it a little more seriously. So yes, past lives and our impressions from previous lives are helping us. Otherwise we couldn't be where we are now. Alright?
So you're saying that we came here for perfecting our spiritual life, that we may have not continued our journey, and that's why we're all kind of here in the room today. Who came here just for the food? Okay, I just wanted to check. Okay. Honest. Okay. Do we have I think there was some more hands up. Yeah. And then yeah. Okay. So yeah.
I have a question. It's not that I don't understand, it's more that I emotionally don't understand, you know? I understand why is all this bad in the world and we have to learn and you know, all the lecturers say tough love and, you know, we don't understand, it's not really hard. But it feels like Krishna consciousness is divided. This philosophical understanding, it's karma and it's tough love and we have to understand. But then there is this loving Krishna who is our best friend and all this. And, you know, if I see the war in Tivau or if I see some violence in the streets of Berlin, so it's really difficult for me to see the hand of our beloved Krishna in this. I understand it, but how to get it together?
Thank you so much. Yes, we philosophically understand that there is suffering in this world. It's a necessary thing. It helps us to want to get out of the world, and it's ultimately coming from God who wants us to go to a better place. So philosophically and logically it makes sense. But when we see someone suffer and we see the pain they have to go through, it's so hard. To be honest, I'd be more worried if you were okay with it. A spiritualist should have a soft heart. A spiritualist should be compassionate. And a spiritualist should look at the suffering of others and think, nobody should have to go through this. So yes, I don't think we will ever have our heart pacified in seeing the suffering of others, no matter how much philosophy we hear. Because it's painful to see people suffering. But what we tell people, as you already know, is that not everything in life that happens is good. But something good can come from everything that happens in life. So maybe we won't be able to understand it now. But maybe that one English writer says you have to live life going forwards, but you can only understand it looking backwards. So maybe we won't be able to understand it now. Maybe it will cause so much pain to our heart. But at least we can logically keep it there that there's something. I can't understand it, but there's something. And then later on, as we elevate ourselves beyond this world and look back, then we'll understand, oh, that's why it was there. I understand now. But while we're in the midst of it, it's very difficult. If you walk into a cinema halfway through the movie and you see one scene where someone is suffering, and then from seeing that one scene you try to figure it out, the whole plot of the movie, it will be very difficult. Therefore, only once you've watched the whole movie and look back, intellectually you'll understand it. So, we can't understand it. But we can accept that logically it makes sense that there's a reason, and in time that reason will be revealed. And that's all we can do.
So how do you logically quantify or explain, for example, child abuse, or how do you logically quantify, explain animal killing? There's so many horrific incidences that happen, and you're saying that there's a bigger picture, there's a plan, and seeing the movie. But if somebody has gone through that, how do you logically say to them, yes, you went through that, but it's part of a bigger plan, like it's a bigger picture. So
I think when someone goes through such difficult experiences, I don't think we need to, in that moment, if they're too emotionally overcome by it, to try to convince them. Once I was told to go to the home of someone a family member had passed away. So I drove to the home. Just before I entered the home, one person called me who told me to go there. He said, let me tell you the story before you go in. So I said, okay. So he said, you're now going to this home. In this home, there's a mother and father, and one of their daughters, she was murdered last year. And now what happened is 4 days ago, on the anniversary of that daughter dying, the other daughter went to the top of a car park and she jumped and committed suicide. So he said, now you're going to this home where this mother has lost her 2 daughters. And I'm thinking, what am I going to say here? So I walked up to the door of the house. I knocked on it, and as I went to knock on it, the door opened. And the mother was standing there. And with tears in her eyes, she looked at me and she said, why has God done this to me? So what am I going to tell her in that moment? There's no amount of philosophy that's going to pacify someone's heart. So we were just there, and we just grieved together. And we just tried to share with her that you have to carry on. And there's something in your life that you're still meant to experience and achieve. So, yes, we have a philosophy, and the philosophy is true. But we also have a heart. And we don't need to try to convince everyone philosophically. Sometimes we just have to be kind, and we have to be understanding, and we have to look up and say, I don't know, I don't have the answers, but let's continue walking and finding out what more we can find out. And I think that's the most spiritually humane way of dealing with it.
Thank you. So we got a few more questions. A few more people have had their hand up.
Bhavini wants, I think she just wants a follow-up.
Yeah.
Would you say that these bad things, that our karma is fulfilling itself, action reaction, or would you say Krishna and Krishna is not taking part, he is passive and just look what we do and we get our reactions, or would you say Krishna is sending this actively?
It's explained in the scriptures that the moment when you try to walk towards Krishna, the moment when you show an interest in Krishna, then Krishna begins to directly intervene in your life. And what Krishna will do is he will take the karma and he will dispense it specifically in a way that will bring you closer to him. So in the life of a spiritualist, it's never just karma. Krishna is directly involved. But Krishna is like the master chess player. Good chess players can think 10 moves ahead. But Krishna thinks 1,000 moves ahead. And he's moving the pieces and we're thinking, Krishna, where are you going with this? It doesn't make any sense at all. But Krishna's, he's already figured 1,000 steps ahead. So how do we know we can't. All right. Yes, someone?
We had one gentleman there, and then after that, you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So you said that you had a life where you went for nightclub in the night, and then in the morning you were in the Mangala and you said that
Still
it was
does.
natural for some people to be in the night and then in the morning, for some people to be early in the morning. Now, it's possible that somebody is, I heard so often somebody says they are natural actor, they are naturally talented liars. On the pretext of saying something is natural way of living naturally on a weekend.
No, I didn't say that people naturally go to the nightclub. I don't think I made that point. I said that some of us naturally move towards living in family life. Some of us naturally move towards being monks. Being a liar is not natural, even if you're good at it. The soul has certain qualities. Krishna explains the qualities of the soul. Titikshava karunika surida sarvadehinam ajata satrava shanta sadhava sadhu bhushana. Titikshava, tolerance. Karunika, kind. Surida sarvadehinam, friendly to everyone. Ajata, shatru, to have no enmity or animosity or aggression towards anyone. Sadhava, sadhu bhushana, these are the ornaments of the soul. So therefore, to be natural means to awaken the qualities of the soul. So if someone is doing something which they say is natural, but which is in violation of these qualities, it's not natural. Does that make sense?
Can I?
Yes.
Sure. So my question, but that really helps what you said because it now adds up to my question. My question was that how do I distinguish between what is a natural way, is it a right way as well, and if it is right for me, and it's also when I'm dealing with people, am I right with them? So, but that definitely helps that if you how you define yourself being natural.
Yeah.
That takes me
Yes.
some context to the right. But the another question which you said, again, you gave an example of an analogy from Pascal where he said that if I believe in God, I tend to gain something. But then again, I would like to see that I would not be...
You're not doing it for the reason of gaining something.
Indeed, but that also, I don't want to believe in God. I want to know God. So
Pascal's wager is just a starting point. It's just a starting point for someone who's very skeptical to tell them, give it a try. Go on the journey. But Pascal's wager is not where it ends. Because the real thing, as you said, is not just believing in God. You want to see God. You want to speak to God. You want to feel the presence of God at every moment in your life. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that it's possible. But you have to put in the effort. Once Srila Prabhupada was in a class. It was packed. And someone stood up. And he said, can you see God? Prabhupada was sitting here. He said, yes, I can see God. Can't you see God? So the person said, no. And then there was pin drop silence, and Prabhupada looked at that person and he said, do you want to see God? And in that moment, that person looked down and he shook his head. He said, no. Prabhupada said, therefore you cannot see God. The question is, do you want to see God? And it's not just from the lip service, I want to see God. Because if it comes out of your lips, then it must translate in your activities. It must translate into your effort. It must translate into what sacrifice are you going to make to try to see God. Therefore, anyone can see God. But the question is, do you want to see God? Alright?
When was the last time you saw God?
Hare Krishna. Firstly, thank you for this insightful and inspiring Q&A. My question is, I'm more and more realizing that we cannot know Krishna through the intellect. And how can we truly relax the mind so that we can sink from the mind to the heart and fully open up the heart, or demolish the walls that we have built around the heart because of the fear of death or the pain and suffering we have lived through this life or many lives, so that we can truly surrender. And in your view, what is surrendering, or how can we truly let go and embrace the unknown and get out of our comfort zones?
Oh, thank you so much. That's so beautiful. On Friday, we had a little event. Yesterday, maybe, yeah. We had a little event here, and I was mentioning that we approach God on different levels. In the beginning, we're approaching God out of fear. Later on, we're approaching God because we want something, desire. Higher than that is when we approach God out of duty. But then higher than that is when we approach God simply out of love. So basically, we are like a caterpillar that's breaking out of the cocoon and transforming into a butterfly. And what we're doing is we're trying to break through this, not just to be fearful of God. Then we're trying to break through this, not just to keep coming to God and asking for things. Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you sort out this problem? And then breaking out of this sense of transaction. You've done so much for me, so I'll do something for you. Trying to break out of that. Until we reach the point where we've just become so enchanted by God. He's beautiful. I don't want anything. I just want to give my heart. In Vrindavan, they say they don't worship Krishna because he's God. They worship God because he's Krishna. Think about that. In Vrindavan, they don't worship Krishna because he's God. They worship God because he's Krishna. Krishna is full of character, he's full of charm, he's full of charisma, he's full of so much beauty. Rasa Vaisaha is said in Sanskrit. He's the reservoir of all rasa. transcendental taste. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to taste God. You have to go from testing God to tasting God. That's the transition. Most people in the world are just testing God. What can God do for me? Does God really exist? All the arguments. You need to go beyond that. Testing God. Now let's taste God. Let's actually relate to God as a person. And the more and more that we do that, the more and more this intellectual and this philosophical and all of this no longer imprisons our experience, but we break beyond that. So if I was to give you one tip which helps you to break out, try to find people who are close to God. Try to spend time with people who are experiencing and tasting God. And by coming in their proximity, by tasting what they're tasting by their company, it gives you an opportunity to also enter into that realm of divine exchange. Therefore it's said in Bengali, Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoya Sadhu Sang, Krishna Prema Janma Teho Punamukhya Ang. That the very root cause of the awakening of pure love for God is the company of spiritual people. And that's why coming here is so powerful. Because when we come here together and sincerely together we try to search, then we begin to experience. So if you want to walk fast, walk alone. But if you want to walk far, walk with many. Together we can do it because we learn from each other. So this is the purpose of why this community exists. Sometimes people say, I don't like organized religion. Then I tell people, don't worry, you'll love us, we're completely disorganized. Not here, of course. This is not organized religion, but we're just organizing a way for sincere spiritual people to come together to actually talk about these things. Because you know what? When you go out there during the week, you may not be able to have conversations like this. But when we come here, it gives us an opportunity. So, just some thoughts. But thank you for such a beautiful question. Appreciate it. All right. Are we running out of time here? Or? Okay.
The question I had for you is that, let's say you're someone who is spiritual, believes in God, also believes in Krishna, and is trying every day to get closer to him, and is slowly seeing the progress as well. But then every now and then you sort of get hit by, I would call it Maya, or the modes of material nature, where you're like, the desire to enjoy materially is too strong, right? And in that moment, it starts with the desire, and you know you're going to act, but you know that this is not going to end up the way you want it to. It's probably something either really short term, that in the span of time is going to be irrelevant, or it might cause you short term happiness, but long term disappointment. But you, having known all this, you still end up doing it anyways, and then you're like, yeah. And so one of my favorite stories in the Bhagavatam is that when Lord Indra became a pig, and then when he was a pig for that 1 year, and I think it was Lord Brahma, someone told him that, you know, it's time to come back up to your kingdom, and he's like, oh, I'm quite happy here as the pig, and these are sort of my children, and everything's fine. And then I think the story from that is, what I think is that it's the power of Maya is just so strong that, you know, you have to keep working at it. But then you think that if such great personalities struggle with it, right, when you come to that point, what do you do to sort of avoid getting into that temptation?
Thank you so much. for asking the question that's on all of our minds. Life is full of temptations. Here we are sitting here, and in these moments it all becomes very clear what I need to do. But then when we get out there, it's a different story. Oscar Wilde once said, "I can resist everything except temptation." So, how do we stay strong in those moments where we're faced with making the wrong decision? What do we do in that moment? Maya seems too strong. The first thing is I would say is if it gets to that moment, it's already gone too far. The first thing you have to try to do in your life is create safe fences. Because what that does is it protects you from temptations that are going to overtake your mind. The second thing you can do in your life is have good company. Spiritual people who are living the life that you aspire for. Their company gives you strength. The third thing you can do is strengthen your intelligence. Constantly hear wisdom, constantly hear the scripture, constantly hear the philosophy that will help you to counteract your heavy emotions. But the only ultimate way to resist Maya is if you fall in love with Krishna. Devihi eshagunamai mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante mayametam tarantite. Krishna says, Devihi eshagunamai mama maya, my maya duratyaya, very powerful, can't overcome it. But mameva ye prapadyante, one who connects with me, maya metam tarantite, they can cross beyond Maya.
Do we normally do a kirtan at the end?
So therefore,
Do we normally do a kirtan at the end?
it's only love. It's only love which will protect you from illusion. Nothing else will be able to counteract that power to do the wrong thing. And so we have to reawaken our love. There's no shortcut. But on the way there, you can do these things. Create boundaries in your life. Associate with powerful people. Develop your spiritual wisdom. This gives you more resilience. But then ultimately, you need to awaken your love. Okay.
So, I don't know if there's another question, but yeah?
Hi, Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I don't know about other countries, but if you talk to young people and you say if you just start to say about Krishna consciousness, the first thing in the mind which comes is that Krishna consciousness is a cult. Like I've talked to many people and they are like, they don't have a perfect answer, or I was not satisfied with what they said, that what should I say to them, and what should be, if I say that it's a science, it's a spiritual science, they'll be like, oh yeah, I know what kind of science you people are. And, so what would be a right answer for young people?
Send them the recording of this class.
One devotee once said to me, you don't have to be mad to join this movement, but it helps. Is the Krishna consciousness movement a cult? I would like one of you to go on your phone and on ChatGPT, since it's the age of AI, tell us the characteristics of a cult. Okay, I can tell you some off the top of my head. How do you characterize a cult? Number one, they tend to repeat the same thing again and again and again. Looks like we're guilty of that one. But then what about in the world? Don't they repeat the same songs again and again and again? Don't they repeat the same? Don't you see actually the same love songs? They're basically recycled lyrics, the same thing again and again and again. Characteristic number two of a cult, they have charismatic leader. Could be guilty of that one. But what about in the material world? Don't they have their idols? Don't they have their heroes? People queue up for 24 hours to get into a concert so that they can get to the front and then get one of the hairs from their favorite pop star. Sounds like a charismatic leader to me. What are the other characteristics of a cult?
Love bombing. Love bombing.
Love bombing.
Love bombing. What's that?
New recruits may be showered with affection and attention to
Oh, okay, wow, love bombing. If you come in here and they give you a lot of love, who's here for the first time? Please, take some extra sweets. But don't they do the same thing in the... I guarantee you, any social group you go to, anything you do in this world, is the same thing. So I don't when people ask me that question, I ask them, what's your definition of a cult? And then what I share with people is that everything you accuse us of is already going out there in the world. We chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and then you go to a football match, and the whole crowd is saying their mantra. Glory, glory, man united. You guys don't know, this is UK football.
Bayern Munich here, right?
Bayern Munich, whatever it is.
Or Dortmund.
So everyone's doing the same thing. So that's my answer. Whatever your definition of a cult is, everyone's part of a cult. It just depends which cult you want to join. That's it. Welcome to the cult.
And do you think that there is also scope for Krishna consciousness between the young people? Like, I don't mean the youth, but even the teenagers, yes. So is there some hope or scope for them to be Krishna conscious? Because nowadays, everybody is just on earning money, or the boys are on cars and the girls are on their beauty makeup and so do you really have hope that young people would be Krishna conscious at the end?
When Srila Prabhupada started this whole movement, he started it with young people. In London, we started a temple, and the first temple president was 17 years old. How old are you? 16. I think he's got 1 year making the president. And those young people were so inspired. They had an adventure. If you want to live an exciting life, Krishna consciousness will make your life exciting. If you want to travel the world, become a devotee of Krishna. Trust me. If you want to experience adventure, if you want to see magical, mystical, memorable things happen before your eyes, if you actually want to do something which changes the world, join Krishna consciousness. One devotee, when I was 16 years old, he said to me, you got two choices. Either option A, you can fill your life with things to show people. Or option B, you can fill your life with stories to tell people. You want to fill your life with things to show people? Oh, my job. I got an MSc, PhD, BA, MBA, MAD. I got the last one. Or do you want to have stories to tell of all the amazing things you experienced and all the amazing things that happened to you? So if you're young and if you want to have an exciting life and if you actually want to do something memorable, become a devotee of Krishna. It's the greatest adventure. I hope, is everyone okay? Like this is going on a little long. I don't want to hold, or you're just too polite to say, cut it, Swami.
I think we have time for maybe one more question. Is that right, organizers? Mm-hmm. They're too shy to sit, so I'm saying it basically, but I'm getting signals saying. Maybe we have. Sorry? We have time for one, but this.
I have connected to his question, and you audience.
Yeah, actually, I have also related to this question.
Okay, so.
Okay, hers is related, so just yes. Okay, you say. Just you can speak loud. Huh?
So, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for coming here, and I can absolutely relate what Krish has asked the question, because he is my son and he has quite eventful life last 16 years as a mother, I can tell you, which we don't have. We don't have that kind of privileged life which he is going through, eventful life, not only privileged. But at the same time, sometimes this young generation.
It's getting red.
He's like, oh man, my mom's embarrassing me here, the temple. Come on, mom. Come on, mom, don't be embarrassing.
No, it's a very realistic question, because sometimes these children, they see the outcome of Krishna consciousness, the devotional part, because they are seeing you as their inspiration, because there are some journeys you have gone through. But is it always okay to continue with the studies and then along with Krishna consciousness you continue your study?
Absolutely not. You should drop out of everything and become a brahmachari. Become a monk. It's all a waste of time out there.
So how do they balance?
I finished my studies. When I was 19, I was 1 year into university. I was like, this is a waste of time. And one monk told me, he said, no, you have to carry on. You have to be disciplined. You have to develop good character. And what you learn at university is not just material knowledge. Because any knowledge which is engaged for a spiritual purpose becomes spiritual knowledge. So by all means, go to university. By all means, get all of those degrees. It's wonderful. If you want to have a job in the world, by all means, have a job. Become successful. But unless you use all of that for a spiritual purpose, none of it will make you happy. You can have all the qualifications, you can have all the job titles, you can have all the money. But if you don't use that in service to others, it won't make you happy. So whatever you're inspired by, if you want to be the richest man in the world, go for it. But then use your wealth to serve the world.
New temple.
Right, exactly. Build a temple for Krishna. So yeah, everyone, you don't have to become a monk, as I said. Mom, don't worry. We won't take him. Oh, she's giving you permission. Sign on the dotted line. We'll take him. At least he can come for a year. Try it out.
Absolutely, all yours.
This was a fruitful trip, you know. I should be coming here more often, you know. I would recommend every young person to take 1 year out in their life and just serve selflessly. And then whatever journey you want to take after that, go for it. But 1 year, why not? Good. That's my offer.
That's how they get you. That's how they get you. Start with a
Love
year.
bombing. And I think we should give a round of applause to your mother. Because it's the mothers do all the hard work, they bring you up, and then we take the final product. Like, thank you, Mom, for all your hard work. We'll take him. So a mother's love is actually very amazing. Every relationship in my life changed. There's only one relationship which stayed the same, and that's the relationship with my mom. It doesn't matter if you're a Swami. When you come in front of your mom, you're just a kid. And it's very, very special. So thank you to all the mothers and fathers. It's very, now I'm staying with Janita and Lekha Shravanti. It's an intense thing, you know, like looking after kids. But they do it with so much love, all the parents do. So yeah. What to do? That was not my path, but I have great appreciation for those who do it. And he'll take you back to Godhead. When Dhruva Maharaj was going back to Godhead, then the plane came. And he said, I can go back to Godhead, but what about my mom? And they said, don't worry, because of your devotion, she's also coming. She's on the next plane. So, if you give him to Krishna, which you've already given, you will benefit greatly. All right.
So can we have a...
Not only her, I have my daughter also.
Oh, your daughter, of course, yes, of course. How can we forget? Yes, the dynamic duo. Powerful. Bubble tea.
So can we have a round of applause for Keshava Swami? So we've talked a lot about today, and we've had some different discussions and answers and questions. And one thing that really stood out for me in today's Q&A was you really emphasized the importance of an experiment. Okay, do the experiment. Okay. And the other thing I really liked...
He's going to sell you something in a minute.
So what I'd like to propose is... no, what I'd like to propose is let's do an experiment. Okay, so he said let's do an experiment and it works. So let's try an experiment. You're saying, okay, we taste Krishna, and you're talking about Krishna. Many of us maybe don't know about Krishna. So what I'd like us to do, or what I'd like us to try, is this experiment, what he's talking about. So we're going to do, so they have an arti now, is that right? An arti? Okay. So we're going to do this arti, but my request to you, Keshava Swami, is for us to try this experiment about understanding and loving Krishna. So as we do this arti, my request to you is, can you, for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, before we start the arti, could you tell us about Krishna? Could we close our eyes and just meditate who Krishna is? And we want to taste what you're tasting, because you're tasting something. So I think that the program is everyone will stand up and we will sing. But just before we start, if we could just have a little meditation from you about Krishna, and as we enter this mood of arti and what we should be thinking about, whilst we're entering that. He's looking at me like, what the hell is he talking about? But yeah, can we try this experiment?
You need Sachinandan Swami for this.
Tell us what you see. Tell us what you feel. You're seeing it, you're tasting it, and we're trying to learn from you. So, yeah, we want to taste. We moved from test, but now we want to taste.
No pressure.
So we can.
Yeah, we can stand up. So we'll do this arati ceremony. So if we can just get your attention, just get a little quiet, just a few minutes. So we're doing an arati ceremony, so maybe I should also say something about this ceremony and what this is. What we do in this ceremony is we offer different items to the deities of Krishna. In an ancient Sanskrit verse is explained, Bhume rapo nalo vayu kam mano buddhireva cha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakriti ashtadha. That there are different elements which make up this universe: earth, water, fire, air, ether. So what you'll see in this ceremony is that we offer all of these elements back to Jagannath. And Raj asked me to give you a little bit of a meditation, but I think what we should do is we should meditate for a moment on the forms of Krishna that we see here. Many of you are here for the first time, and even for those of you who are regulars here, it's always beautiful to meditate on their lordship. So on the right here we have Jagannath. Jagannath means the Lord of the universe. On the left here we have Baladev. Baladev is the brother of Jagannath, or the brother of Krishna. And in the middle is Subhadra. Bhadra means very auspicious. Subhadra means extremely auspicious. Her glance is very, very empowering. So you see all of them have very, very big eyes, isn't it? So these eyes are eyes of love. When you see something amazing, when you experience something amazing, when you witness something very beautiful, then immediately your eyes become very big. So these are the forms of Lord who are in ecstasy, experiencing the ecstasy of love. So what we do in this arati ceremony is we try to open up, to talk, to sing to them, to reveal your heart, and try to connect your eyes with their eyes. And then what you will feel is a movement of your heart. So please sing very, very loudly, and you can also please dance as you like, if you can find any space in here. And just use these moments to disconnect. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.